Some stories are hard to hear, but they remind us of how fragile life truly is. Today, we remember 10 famous celebrities who tragically lost their lives in shocking plane crashes. Their legacies live on, and number 2 will truly touch your heart. Let's honor their memories together. Starting at number 10 is Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente wasn't just a baseball legend. He was also a humanitarian. In 1972, he was flying to deliver aid to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. Tragically, his plane crashed into the Atlantic shortly after takeoff. There were no survivors. Clemente was only 38, but his legacy as a sports hero and humanitarian lives on. Next up at number 9 is Payne Stewart. Golf legend Payne Stewart was known for his iconic style and clutch performances. In 1999, he boarded a Learjet headed for Texas. Minutes after takeoff, the cabin lost pressure, and everyone on board, including Stewart, became unconscious. The plane flew on autopilot for hours before crashing. Stewart was only 42, and his death shook the sports world. Coming in at number 8 is the Lynyrd Skynyrd band members. Southern rock legends Lynyrd Skynyrd had just released their album Street Survivors in 1977 and were riding high on tour when tragedy struck. Their chartered plane ran out of fuel and crashed in a forest in Mississippi. The crash took the lives of frontman Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, backup singer Cassie Gaines, assistant road manager Dean Kilpatrick, and pilots Walter McCreary and William Gray. Ronnie was only 29, Steve 28, and Cassie 29. Such young lives lost too soon. The Southern rock community was devastated, but Lynyrd Skynyrd's powerful legacy lives on through timeless classics like Sweet Home Alabama. Holding it down at number 7 is Otis Redding. Otis Redding, one of the greatest soul voices the world has ever known, was just 26 when tragedy struck. In 1967, his private plane crashed into a lake in Wisconsin, taking his life and those of 4 members of his band, the Bar-Kays, along with his valet, Matthew Kelly, and pilot Richard Frazier. Just 3 days before the crash, Otis had recorded what would become his biggest hit, Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. Released after his death, the song became a timeless classic and a lasting tribute to his incredible talent. Sliding into number 6 is Jim Croce. Folk and rock singer-songwriter Jim Croce was blowing up the charts in the early 70s with hits like Bad Bad Leroy Brown. But in 1973, just after finishing a concert, his small plane crashed on takeoff in Louisiana. Croce was with his guitarist, Maury Muhleisen, comedian George Stevens, manager Kenneth Cortos, road manager Dennis Rast, and pilot Robert Elliott. None survived. Jim was only 30, and music fans still mourn his incredible talent. Number 5 is Ritchie Valens. Ritchie Valens was just 17 years old and already a rising star, famous for his hit La Bamba. In 1959, he boarded a small plane with Buddy Holly and J.P., the Big Bopper, Richardson. Minutes later, during a snowstorm in Iowa, the plane crashed, killing all on board, including the pilot, Roger Peterson. This tragic event became known as the day the music died, marking one of the darkest moments in rock and roll history. At number 4 is Patsy Cline. Country music royalty Patsy Cline had a golden voice that still gives chills today.
Crazy.
In 1963, after performing at a benefit concert, her plane crashed in bad weather over Tennessee. Alongside Patsy were fellow musicians Cowboy Copas and Hawkshaw Hawkins, as well as pilot Randy Hughes. Patsy was only 30 years old, but her powerful voice and timeless songs
I'm crazy for trying.
continue to leave a lasting impact on country music. Number 3 is John F. Kennedy Jr. Yep, the son of President Kennedy himself. John F. Kennedy Jr. was a lawyer, journalist, and pretty much American royalty. In 1999, while flying his small plane to Martha's Vineyard with his wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, and her sister, Lauren Bessette, he lost control and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. All three died, leaving the world heartbroken over the loss of a young, charismatic leader who carried so much of America's hope and legacy. At number 2 is Aaliyah. Aaliyah's death in 2001 still feels incredibly heartbreaking. She was just 22 years old, with the world at her feet and a career that was only getting bigger. After filming a music video in the Bahamas, she boarded an overloaded plane that crashed shortly after takeoff, killing her along with 8 others, including her stylist, hairstylist, security guard, and crew members. Her voice was powerful, but her humility and kindness were what truly made her shine. To lose her at the very height of her potential, when it seemed like she was just beginning to show the world what she could do, left millions heartbroken. The R&B world was devastated by her loss, but Aaliyah's influence and music continue to inspire millions around the world. And finally, number 1. Buddy Holly. He was only 22, but Buddy Holly had already changed the sound of rock and roll forever. In 1959, while on tour in freezing conditions and fed up with a broken-down bus, Buddy chartered a small plane to get to his next show. Alongside him were fellow rising stars Ritchie Valens and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson. Tragically, the plane crashed just minutes after takeoff, slamming into a snowy Iowa cornfield in the dead of night. There were no survivors. The crash shook the entire music world, a moment later known as the day the music died. But Buddy Holly's legacy? It still lives on in every guitar riff, every catchy chorus, and every artist he inspired. Seriously, who knew so many legends were lost this way? Which one shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more celebrity countdowns. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one!